What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to see daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn the notification bell on if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. If you don't know, today's video, tomorrow's video, and the next day's video, so Sunday through Tuesday's videos, are all pre-recorded. I will upload a late video on Wednesday night. Not 100% sure what the time will be on that. So if there is Ravens news, the last time I was out of town, the Ravens signed Justin Houston. So potentially a Lamar Jackson contract negotiation could happen. If there's any major news or anything like that, I'll maybe make a YouTube short and give a instant reaction. But on Wednesday, that's when I would have the update video, or maybe it would be on Thursday. So keep an eye out for that if that is to happen. If you want other reactions and things like that, any questions, if something happens, you can DM me on Twitter, tweet at me on Twitter, and I'll talk about that stuff on Twitter. I just won't be able to make a video. Probably won't have very good internet or anything like that. So don't expect any, current videos or anything like that. The internet's not going to be good where I'm going. But that's it for the intro. But I wanted to talk about a couple of players that we have not been hearing very much about in the offseason, and those would be Brandon Stephens and Shaun Wade. And before I even get into them, I want to say, why is this so important? Well, we just saw Jimmy Smith go down, with that injury, and obviously, thank goodness he's okay, and it's only going to be about a week where, I think it was an ankle sprain or something light with his ankle, but he got carted off the field. And I think when every Ravens fan saw the tweet from, it came from everybody, Jamison Hensley, Jeff Zrebiec, everybody, every reporter that you could think of from the Ravens tweeted out, Jimmy Smith is down. And every Ravens fan instantly thought, he's done. When they said they had to bring out the cart, I was really disappointed. I was like, oh man, we lost Jimmy Smith. And then I started thinking, okay, we got Shaun Wade, we got Brandon Stephens. Maybe they can step up. That was my whole thought process. And also, Chris Westry, if you didn't see the video I posted yesterday, go check that out. I talked about him a lot and why he should make the roster. But overall, I was thinking about Stephens and Wade, and I was like, maybe one of these guys can step up, because I was fully expecting Jimmy Smith to at least be missing significant time of the season, if not the entire season. I was really scared. Luckily, he's totally okay. But, when you hear those things and when you have injury-prone players, especially in the secondary with Tavon Young and Jimmy Smith, obviously, knock on wood, hope nothing happens. I would be ecstatic if neither Shaun Wade or Brandon Stephens played a single snap, because Jimmy Smith was completely healthy and Tavon Young stayed completely healthy, and Marlon never missed a snap and Marcus Peters never missed a snap. But that's just unrealistic. You have to realize that these guys are going to have to play at some point this year if they make the team, and I would expect them to make the team. Unless something absolutely ridiculous happens, which I don't expect whatsoever. But let's look at those players and let's see, how are they doing? What are the practice reports saying? Because there hasn't been a lot of information. And I think a lot of people, when you hear rookies, especially a third-round rookie, Brandon Stephens was a third-round pick. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. He was picked in the same round as Ben Cleveland. We get Ben Cleveland updates every day. I swear. Shout out to Ben Cleveland, Big Sexy as we call him on this channel. We hear, oh, he dominated somebody, threw him into the dirt, then he picked that up. We get, every time he walks onto the practice field, we get videos. Oh, look how big Ben Cleveland looks. We don't hear anything about Brandon Stephens. We don't hear anything about Shaun Wade. We hear about Dalen. We hear about a little bit about Ben Mason, but what about these guys? I've done some research into, all the different practice reports and things like that. And there is some information. So obviously Brandon Stephens most likely is not going to be playing cornerback. He could be a late, probably last on the depth chart cornerback for the Ravens, but I would expect him fully to be the free safety number 2 for the Ravens, unless Ardarius Washington is able to make a spot on the roster. Then maybe Brandon Stephens could be 3, or Ardarius Washington and Brandon Stephens could be 2 and 3 and pretty interchangeable. They'd both be tied for number 2. So at free safety, how is he doing? Initially, Brandon Stephens was struggling. However, there were plenty of reports that were saying he's getting more and more comfortable, as training camp goes on, which makes sense. If you didn't know, Brandon Stephens was a running back at UCLA before he transferred to SMU to play cornerback for 1 season. He had great ball skills. And that was kind of the main thing. He's athletic and he's got good ball skills. And so the Ravens looked at that and they said, hey, maybe he can play free safety. And he's getting more and more used to it. Is he an absolute lockdown defender? No, not at all. He needs time. However, the benefit is that he is playing in a secondary with playmakers. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, even Deshaun Elliott, playmakers. The ball will get tipped up in the air. Even Patrick Queen, Calais Campbell gets a lot of tips. All those types of things play into his strength, which is athleticism and playing the ball. If a ball gets tipped up in the air and Brandon Stephens is around, I expect him to come down with that. So Brandon Stephens is not looking like a player. He's not Ed Reed. He's not Ed Reed by any means. And that's nobody would expect him to be Ed Reed this year. However, he is a player where I think right now you can be relatively comfortable with putting him on the field, not thinking, oh, he's going to clamp the tight end that he's put in coverage. If you put him in zone coverage or you put him, in a position to make a play, he's going to be able to make that play. And I think that's something to look at, something to key into. But overall, there's not like there hasn't been anything of like, oh, he's just absolutely dominated today. He's had a couple of plays. He's had a couple of times he's been beat. But overall, Brandon Stephens has been what we would expect. A playmaker, an athletic playmaker, but still needs polishing on, coverage skills and everything like that. But the biggest thing in terms of like technique and things that I've heard is he's getting really good at moving the hips and things like that. His shuffling, his hip movement, his lateral movement, that's been good. It's just, it takes a long time to learn how to play safety and how to play it really well, especially, when you haven't really played much defense before. If you're coming from corner and it's an experienced corner, it's one thing. But as an inexperienced cornerback, then transitioning to safety, it's tough, but, he's definitely making it work. In terms of Shaun Wade now, Shaun Wade is expected to be a slot cornerback. That's what he translates most to in the NFL. He was a dominant slot cornerback at Ohio State. Probably would have been a first-round pick. Could have been a top 10 pick if he stayed at just a slot cornerback. He decided to transition to outside. He got absolutely cooked, and he fell all the way to the 5th round because he couldn't play on the outside at Ohio State. So we would expect him to be playing slot, and that means he's behind Tavon Young. And there hasn't been a lot of information about him being in the slot and like clamping anybody or anything like that. But I have seen things like, oh, he was in a one-on-one with Miles Boykin, and Miles Boykin bodied him out, boxed him out, and then Miles Boykin pulled a Miles Boykin, and he dropped the ball after getting good position. So he wasn't able to make a play on that. Like, hasn't been a ton of things. Ravens for Dummies, a.k.a. Spencer Schultz, on Twitter tweeted out saying, Shaun Wade played consistently. This was July 30th. Like, trust me, there's not, like, these guys are not being reported on. And it's kind of unfortunate, but, overall, I think that when they're not at like a massive position of immediate need, for example, Ben Cleveland left guard, Odafe Away, was the main pass rusher until we signed Justin Houston. These guys are behind Marlon and Marcus. They are being mentored by two of the best at what they do. Marcus Peters is a playmaker with the ball in the air. So you look at Brandon Stephens, look at that. Marcus Peters is going to teach him. This is when you break. This is what you look for in a quarterback's eyes when you're trying to do that type of thing. Marlon is telling them, this is how you play physical. This is how you stick your hand in there, jar the ball out, and ride a wide receiver as he's, running down the sideline and trying to get across the middle. This is how you do that. So overall, it's not like these guys are going to be playing crazy meaningful snaps for the Ravens, barring any injury. So it's not as necessary that they're being reported on. But I do wish that the reporters would talk a little bit more about them. We could see a little bit more highlights and things like that. But that's just the way it works. That's the way the media, goes about it. They want to get as many clicks as possible. And so they're going to talk about Odafe, Ben Cleveland, Rashad Bateman. Like, they're going to talk about those guys. Also, another guy that we don't hear a lot about, Tylan Wallace. Maybe I'll make a video on him, later, down the line when we hear some news about him. But I've heard he's playing decently well. He's transitioning decently. But overall, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you've been to any practices and you've noticed things about Shaun Wade or Brandon Stephens, absolutely comment it down below. I haven't been to any practices, any training camps or anything like that. I know plenty of you have. Y'all have commented before, but if you recognized, oh, yeah, Brandon Stephens, I saw him make a play, or Shaun Wade, I saw him make a play, or even if it's bad and you're like, I saw this guy get mossed, let me know in the comment section down below, and check the comments to see if anybody else has commented, any things that they saw. So overall, thank you everybody for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I will see all of you again tomorrow with another video that's pre-recorded, by the way. So if there's major news, remember, wait till Wednesday, and I'll probably have something out by then. But thank you, and I'll see you all again then.